one another that way. We're here today as the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature Indigenous Council. My name is Casey Camp Hornick. I'm a member of the Ponca Nation of Oklahoma. And I serve as the chair. Grateful to have you all here and to be able to listen to you talk about your understanding from your territory, your cosmology, what the rights of nature means. There's a chair over here, Michael. With me, I would like to ask my co-chairs to introduce themselves quickly before we move on.
Good morning. My name is Julia Hornick, and I am the Global North Organizer for the Indigenous Council and from the Ponca Nation in Oklahoma.
Hello, everyone. My name is Leo Cerda. I am a Quechua indigenous storyteller and bridge builder from the Ecuadorian Amazon, and I serve as the Indigenous Council Coordinator from the Global South.
In terms of my personal information, I'm also the environmental ambassador for my tribe, the Ponca, and also the drumkeeper for the Women's Society, and have the honor of serving on several boards for several organizations. And today, I think that the most exciting part for me is to see so many people here from so many different spaces that are here talking on behalf of Mother Earth and understanding that we humans are part of nature, not separate from nature. And that as we come here today to talk about rights of nature, there's a lot of talk in the United Nations and throughout the globe about human rights. And they're not recognizing that humans are simply a species that is part of nature, not separate from. And that, again, rights of nature for me inherently means rights of indigenous peoples. Because the indigenous cosmology, at least where I come from, and for those that I have encountered, also say the same thing. We are all related. We respect and love the water, the air, the land, the sky, and all of those things in between, as well as ourselves. And we see those things as an intricate portion of ourselves. And so coming here talking about the rights of nature from the Ponca viewpoint and from those that I've been hearing from throughout these years is talking about what we understand as inherent rights, what we understand as the immutable rights, those that have always existed and those that will always exist, the natural laws. And so this morning, if we can move it quickly through, I would like to ask to start over here and just say your name and where you're from, if you don't mind, please, and what nation you're representing.
Hello, everyone. My name is Susanne Nordström. I'm from Sweden. I represent Sweden. I am a member of the parliament in Sweden. And in my committee, we are sort of having these issues on our table.
Are you indigenous?
I'm not.
My name is Jan Lise. I'm also from Sweden, from the Swedish Parliament, member of the Green Party, and member of the Committee on the Constitution. And we have these issues, as Susanne just said, and we're trying to understand a bit more about the rights of nature. We're not come that far, but we have organized one or two seminars. And in our case, it's mainly the Sami people who we work with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Alicia Cahuilla, yo soy del pueblo guaraní, soy íntegro guaraní de Iguazú y actualmente soy dirigente de la CONAI, Indígenas del Ecuador.
Buenos días, vamos a mi chicho. Mi nombre es Nelly Chiluango, soy mujer quichua amazónica, una organización quichua que la cosmovisión indígena del pueblo napo de la Amazonía. Soy dirigente.
Thank you.
Good morning, Margaret from Kenya. I'm with the Chicana.
Okay, it's small space.
Hello, I'm Margaret from Kenya. I've worked with the Turkana people to do with the indigenous issues, and I'm interested to know and learn more about the rights of Inca. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adina Fernando. I am Quichua with Orlando, and I'm also part of the Quichua diaspora that lives and resides in Panapahogin, New York City. And I'm part of a collective called UNPFII who advocates for migrant rights, and we're a collective of artists, activists, and storytellers as well. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Talia. I'm the Director of Philanthropic Networks at Indian Collective, and I'm Quichua Tabalo from Ecuador.
Buenos días con todo. Mi nombre es Juan Baez, soy presidente de la nacionalidad guaraní del Ecuador. Un gusto, muchas gracias. Estoy aquí para también poder compartir la experiencia de la lucha de ese territorio ecuatoriano. Es el experiencia.
For translators, I'm going to be speaking in the indigenous language I was taught. Okay. I totally blanked it out. Next person.
Oh, we don't have anything signed.
We'll come back. Go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Natalia Green. I'm the Executive Director of the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature, and it's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. I'm from Ecuador.
Yeah, hello, Monica Sala from Germany. I'm representing the European Alliance for the Self-Determination of Indigenous Peoples.
Hello, I'm Helena, also part of the European Alliance and representing INCOMINDIOS, the International Committee for the Indigenous Peoples of the Americas. We were founded by AIM and IITC, and we just celebrated our 50th anniversary in support of the self-determination of Indigenous peoples. Thank you. And oh yeah, and we have a youth scholar program. So we also support young Indigenous people to come to United Nations in New York and Geneva.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm an intern from Indonesia. So I just wanted to learn here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mariana Pinti. I work for the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, an international human rights organization based in Boston, and we support organizations run by Indigenous people around the world.
Hi, my name is Miriam Broxton. I'm not Indigenous myself, but I'm the main representative for ATD Fourth World to the UN. And I'm here because we do work with Indigenous communities in Bolivia, Guatemala, Mauritius, and Gallup, New Mexico.
Ja, en als je de she Alicia Burnside in share. Since I got in the share, school behind Bush's chain, there's cheating the change. Total Oja A dash nave. Aquata, it's on this way. Hello, good morning, everyone. I am Alicia Burnside. I am born for the Concrete People Clan and from the Water Edge People Clan. And I come from the Navajo Reservation in Gallup, New Mexico. And I am here with my work, ATD Fourth World, learning from everyone here. So thank you for having us.
Alito, Sahochifo, Jason, Lita Hacho, Achatasia, Ibarsia. I reside on the Yesa territory of the Southeast Woodlands, so-called North Carolina, with my wife. And we are the co-founders of 7 Directions of Service, who are praying and elevating a rights of nature, rights of Mother Earth platform in the so-called state of North Carolina on several fronts. Yakoki Ishto, thank you for having me.
Greetings, relatives. My name is Antonio Gonzalez, American Indian Movement, and with the AIM West. And I also salute outstanding European Alliance people, been helping American Indian Movement, North America, Wounded Knee, support. Thank you very much, my relatives.
Greetings, my name is Michael Lane. I'm from Menominee Nation. I work for the Indigenous Environmental Network as the Indigenous Sovereignty Advocate. And I'm also involved with Global Alliance of the Rights of Nature through the Academic Hub and the North American Hub.
Good morning, my name is Francis Lampro. I'm here representing the BC Native Women's Association out of Canada.
Hey everybody, Crystal Cavalier, Okanichi Stefani, representing Seven Directions Service with my husband.
And we're going to go around the circle here a little bit later, but we only have an hour. So we want, we do want to recognize you, but at the same time, we want to move forward. So as there are comments, of course, we'll be passing around a sign-in sheet for anyone who wants to sign in and receive information and share information through that magical thing called the internet, where we can all tune in a little bit better. So the Global Alliance of the Rights of for the Rights of Nature has been in place for now close to 30 years. I think it's about time to celebrate an anniversary coming up. But for the Ponca, I'm just going to speak very directly about Ponca people because that's kind of where I am. The rights of nature for us is simply putting into a Western context through a statute that we have passed a resolution for, that within our territory, in order to establish and to be able to uphold the sovereignty that we have through treaty rights, through the 5 treaties that we've made with the federal government of the United States while they continually took more and more of the land. And then we have the extractive industry in our area, the oil and gas industry, ConocoPhillips 66, that has created a situation of environmental genocide for us to have the rights of nature statute and the rights of the river statute is giving us an area where we feel as if we can bring them into our courts, where we can protect and be protected by the sacred waters, air and land in our territory, and to stop the genocide that is continually being put into the frontline communities and creating the situations we are in. So rights of nature for us, as we move through the trainings that we've done, as we've worked together, is to help people come into their own understanding of what does it mean in your territory? How does it uplift sovereignty? How does it create a barrier between you and those that are going to kill the very way of life for your people and for all of the living things that we are all related to? It's a relationship acknowledgement that puts into Western law something that usurps even the doctrine of discovery and those types of things that have been allowing the colonizers to come into our territory and simply do what they will. I'd like to pass it to my co-chairs.
Leave it to you, and I'll take that later.
And hello, everyone. Yes, we are here as part of the Global Alliance of the Rights of Nature, which is a body that promotes the rights of nature internationally, all around the world in the different continents. And the specific work of Indigenous Council is to bring the wisdom and the knowledge of Indigenous peoples from around the world to advise the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature in the values and the work guided by Indigenous people that has to be a steward and move forward by this Indigenous wisdom and leadership in the countries around the world. It is because of that that we are meeting here today, and we are putting together a group of people, of indigenous thought leaders, think as a kind of a think tank to bring the different approaches of indigenous wisdom from around the world into this council, so we can advise the General Assembly of the Global Alliance of the Rights of Nature. We have different examples of constitutions adopting the rights of nature around the world, and we want to promote the adoption of the rights of nature internationally at the UN level, the UNPFII, and the different platforms that we have around the world. Because as we know now, the global crisis has brought us to this point of in which we want to be under 1.5 degrees. The world is changing, and we know that this rupture, this crisis that's brought us is come from the way that colonization has seen Mother Earth as a commodity. And we as indigenous people don't see it as a commodity. We don't see it as that way. We don't believe in the dispossession of indigenous territories. We believe in the thriving of indigenous communities. We believe in the way that we can live with harmony with nature. And to be exact, as we all know, this climate crisis, as in now, more than 80% of indigenous territories and the forests of the world are preserved by indigenous communities that represent less than 5% of the population of the world. So that means something, because for us, the equilibrium and the harmony that we have with nature is essential for the future of humanity. And in that sense, that's why we want to bring to the table as a council, and as in a way that we can direct government and different leaderships around the world to adopt in their constitution the rights of nature, and then execute and put in place mechanisms that will develop into putting into place the rights of nature around the world as the universal adoption of the rights of nature. That is our goal.
Thank you, Leo. Also, go ahead. He deserves the applause. Thank you, Leo. You know, rights of nature works. That's the thing that we want to put out there with everyone is there are examples. You know, you can go out and you can read about recently the Goldman Environmental Prize was awarded to an indigenous woman from Peru. And that, you know, it's an extraordinary accomplishment. Rights of nature can start on a very local level, a tribal level in our small communities, into local, state, and then international levels like we're talking about with constitution and stuff. It will look different where you are, because, you know, our atmospheres, our topography, our relationships and everything are very different from where we are indigenous to. So rights of nature is not a one size fits all type of thing. It definitely looks different, you know, in accordance to the community and the indigenous people that are leading in that area. And that's really, really important to remember, is this is an indigenous led movement. It should be an indigenous led movement. We should be at the forefront as leaders in this and listen to as the guides for the rest of the world as they embrace the rights of nature movement. I do have examples of the resolutions that the Ponca Nation passed around the rights of natures and the rights of rivers. So if anyone would like to look at those and take a photo of them, I'm going to go ahead and pass those around. And then I'm going to let Leo, you had a couple of people that wanted to you know, address the rest of us about rights of nature work in their communities.
And if I may, one of the things that I'd like to also mention is that this is a collective effort by so many that there are 30 countries that are now involved in rights of nature efforts. And that shows us that this is the fastest growing environmental movement that has ever been. And it's coming, as they said, from various communities. This is a unification process. We know that we have collaborated within our territory with the farmers, with the ranchers, with our neighbors, knowing full well that they too will receive the protection if the rights of rivers and the rights of natures are upheld in our particular territory, that will benefit their generations to come the same as it does us. It will protect the sacred seeds that are non-GMO seeds. We also have areas that help everyone to understand that the air itself is sacred. We can't enter into carbon markets that just increase the amount of carbon that goes into the air. That fossil fuel countries or companies, I guess, are beginning to try to trick everyone and say these false solutions make a difference, when in fact they enhance the profits of those that are trying to create the situation and make it worse. So these two are addressed within the rights of nature, having its own ways. Thank you.
We are meeting bi-monthly. This is the Indigenous Council. So for this specific council, we are inviting our brothers and sisters from the different nations around the world. The Global Alliance of the Rights of Nature has other groups on different issues, Atlantic, legal. I don't know if Nati can say like 1 minute or two about the Global Alliance. And we are passing around a signing sheet. If you can put your name in there, if you're from indigenous nations, said the nation will invite you to the council, and the other people we will redirect you for the Global Alliance in general, different groups. And also after Nati's presentation, we will start a conversation. We want to start a conversation and how our nations and how we live the rights of natures in our territory. We're going to start with Alicia, Nelly, and Juan Bai, who are from like they have different examples in their territories, but we want to open up this conversation. If you have anything additionally that we cannot talk in this, or if you want to say something after this, please reach out to me. I'll give you my email, or Julie as well, or Casey.
One of us will answer.
One of us will answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you for all the participants. As I was saying, my name is Natalia Green. I'm from Ecuador. I'm the director of the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature. And I'm really excited to see this group coming together, because as our panelists have said, the rights of nature is a mere translation of the worldview of indigenous people. It's a translation for exactly the people who are not living in harmony with nature. It's a need to incorporate into law this understanding that we are nature and that Mother Earth, of course, needs rights. And actually, we shouldn't even need to give her rights to protect her. But unfortunately, the legal systems are not incorporating in nature into the legal systems. And we have seen that when this happens, amazing opportunities come together, not only for conservation of territories, but for the stewardship, especially of indigenous people who are in that territory, to make sure that the collective rights and indigenous rights come together, complement each other, and make stronger laws to protect those territories. The Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature was founded in 2010, and it's an amazing space bringing together more than 6,000 members around the world. We have hubs from legal, thematic and regional hubs. So the regional hubs are in North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia Pacific, and we also have thematic hubs. So we have a youth hub, we have a legal hub, we have an academic hub. And Indigenous Council is part of our governing body. As Leo has said, is our stewardship council, is the wisdom keepers that are allowing this message and this understanding of nature being our mother and how we protect her be the guiding principles of this alliance. So we welcome, of course, everybody. The council will, as Leo was saying, will be meeting regularly. We also want to embrace the opportunity that COP is happening in Brazil. We are hoping to have a gathering on November 10th with Indigenous Council, for those of you who are attending the COP 30 in Brazil. This will also be an opportunity, and I know that we have amazing colleagues here that are from the Amazon to promote the idea of the rights of the Amazon. That is something that we are promoting, as well as the rights of Antarctica. So this will be a great opportunity to meet. And we are also, the Indigenous Council is working on a white paper precisely about the relationship between Indigenous rights and rights of nature, and how they complement each other, and how this can really bring and transform a new paradigm that we are looking for, especially in these dark times. So I would just like to thank you here, and love to hear the rest of the voices. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much. We have, again, about half an hour altogether, including time for a Q&A or statement. So we would ask everyone to introduce your guest speakers, and
Yes,
and we'll make it a short.
We are going to start with Alicia, then Nelly.
Buenos días a todos. Yo quiero decir, porque nuestro territorio como mujer indígena, mujer originaria, nosotros hemos cuidado el mantenimiento de la Amazonía. Es un territorio donde tenemos agua, montaña, la sabiduría, la educación, la economía. Tenemos todo ahí en ese territorio. Es importante, el mundo tiene que tener la conciencia. ¿Por qué decimos? Porque nosotros, los originarios de la región amazónica, hemos mantenido el cuidado. Es un sujeto de derecho la vida, la Amazonía, para los pueblos indígenas, porque es un territorio donde nosotros recolectamos medicina, pescado, carne, el viento, la espiritualidad, tenemos allá. Entonces, ustedes, los países contaminantes, nos tienen que dar la seguridad, garantizar y respetar a los pueblos originarios. También tienen que apoyar para los pueblos originarios, que somos mujeres indígenas, que las mujeres hemos sido el cuidado, velar por esa Amazonía, educar, cuidar, dar más árboles importantes, la medicina, la espiritualidad. Hemos cuidado nosotros como mujer indígena, pero el mundo no se da cuenta que las mujeres no valoran. También en cada país hay ley de la naturaleza. Los gobiernos ponen esa ley, pero los estados, gobiernos no respetan. Por eso queremos que los pueblos indígenas que nos respete ese territorio amazónico, porque la Amazonía da al mundo, y el mundo tiene que tener la conciencia de no exploración de los... Nosotros no tenemos culpa los indígenas. Los mismos estados mandan a extraer el petróleo, la minería, y el agua está en peligro, porque el agua es importante, vital para los pueblos, como dicen personas, la biodiversidad, las plantas necesitan esa agua para poder vivir, pero el agua, la mayor parte está contaminada. Las mujeres indígenas están con cáncer, la mayor parte de la región amazónica. Por eso nos preocupa a nosotros que los gobiernos, gobernantes de cada país deben tender a nosotros, porque el cuidado de los pueblos indígenas, por eso quiero también tome en cuenta a los hombres sabios y sabias. Ellas manejan la espiritualidad. ¿Qué va a pasar la Amazonía? ¿Qué va a pasar el mundo que está acabando a nosotros? Por eso esperamos que ustedes, que apoyen también a los pueblos originarios desde nuestro territorio, porque esa alianza que dicen global, que los jóvenes, desde nuestra enseñanza, que sea la participación a los jóvenes, que puedan hablar también idiomas y puedan transmitir otros idiomas para que ellos también participen en la juventud. Y no vamos a olvidar de los ancianos, y también llamar a los ancianos que sean la voz de ellos, que sean escuchados y respetados los gobiernos, porque sin ellos nosotros no somos nadie. Entonces, por eso es importante, yo de mi parte, como soy de la Amazonía regional, más de 50 años la explotación del petróleo que han sacado y nos han destruido la Amazonía. Por eso yo he salido como mujer guaraní a dar la voz, a decir, basta petrolera, basta gobierno que nos engañó. Y eso es una vida digna que estamos necesitando los pueblos originarios. Por eso las mujeres
he organizado como mujer guaraní, donde nos miran al mundo. Y somos vos que estamos diciendo auxilio al mundo, pero no se da cuenta los gobiernos ahora actualmente. Actualmente Ecuador, ¿qué está pasando? Gobierno quiere sacar petróleo y minería, pero sin consulta a los pueblos originarios, sin consentimiento de nosotros. Por eso queremos decir, ustedes que están diciendo global, que junten a los indígenas para que los indígenas puedan defender, puedan apoyar a nosotros, porque sin ustedes, sin nosotros, claro que somos, como dicen, expertos, científicos, como pueblo indígena, pero no se dan cuenta que estamos solos. El mundo tiene que hacer alianza para que las enseñanzas, de esta enseñanza de nosotros, que puedan mirar por qué los indígenas cuidaron la Amazonía, por qué cuidan la Amazonía, es un sujeto de derecho de la región amazónica. Soy mujer guaraní y todavía siguen, como dicen, cambios climáticos. Mi territorio está yendo mecheros demasiado. Cuando firmaron COP30, en París, gobiernos firmaron para que los mecheros se rebajen, las llamas del mechero. Hasta ahora no han cambiado nada. El aire está contaminando la Amazonía por los mecheros. También ahorita la Amazonía que dicen vamos a negociar con la venta de carbono. Nosotros no estamos de acuerdo porque es nuestra vida donde nos garantiza el aire, el agua, el territorio, es la vida de nosotros. Queremos que también entiendan la Amazonía, ya dicen, pero ¿dónde están justificando? ¿Dónde hay seguridad para los hermanos y hermanas, defensoras y defensores? Nos están criminalizando, denunciando para poner preso o matar a las personas y hermanos que pasan la voz. Y eso necesitamos apoyo desde ustedes para que no puedan acabar los hermanos y hermanas únicos voceros que han pasado al mundo desde la Amazonía del Ecuador. Eso es de mi parte. Yo soy mujer guaraní desde Yasuní.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate everything you said because it spurred many thoughts in my mind. We are trying to stay close to understanding about what rights of nature is. And you spoke perfectly about the reasons that we need rights of nature to be implemented. You also reminded me that the reason that this particular UN is important for all of us, the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues, is because this year it is specifically being geared to implementing UNDRIP, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. And implementation means also lifting up our voices in areas like rights of nature and implementing all of those things that you just talked about. The right to free, prior, and informed consent is necessary. You know, listening to you was so strong just now. I was thinking that one of the things we need to do to put out on our website perhaps is to do these little individual videos of people talking about what's going on in their territories and exactly how rights of nature can be utilized in those areas. And rather than have us go through more testimonies right now, what I'd really like to do is give us time for that conversation. We have around 20 minutes right now, and I want to open it up a little bit for now. By the way, before you leave, I want to say thank you for the sound of your healing jingles. When you came in, it touched my heart. Thank you.
I'm just using your
Sorry. You know, mamas and grandmas blow it all the time.
Nelly was going to talk briefly about a case that we won on the rights of nature.
Rights of nature. Go ahead, introduce.
Nelly, Nelly from Ecuador. She's going to speak about the case that we won in Ecuador around the rights of nature in the Napo region.
Nuevamente, soy quichua amazónica de la provincia de Napo, de una organización FOIN. Bueno, estoy aquí y un poco que traje escrita porque en poco tiempo quería decir todo, pero ordenadito, entonces y por eso lo traje escrito y que voy a hacer una lectura para que esto se aclare. Y bueno, vengo de un territorio de selvas vivas, ríos sagrados y también de profundas heridas causadas por la minería. Hoy quiero hablarles de algo que para nosotros es evidente, pero para los estados y sistemas jurídicos sigue siendo negado. Los derechos de la naturaleza y los derechos colectivos de los pueblos indígenas no son separables, son interdependientes, se cuidan y se vulneran juntos. Cuando un río es contaminado por mercurio, como ocurre en el río Napo, de donde es Leo, yo soy, y todos los compañeros amazónicos, no solo se mata la naturaleza, se envenena a nuestros cuerpos, se rompen nuestros siglos de vida. El mercurio está afectando la salud de nuestros niños y niñas, desde las mujeres gestantes. Hay estudios que demuestran que los niveles de contaminación en Napo superan más de 500%, los límites permitidos, pero nadie responde por eso. Nosotras, como mujeres indígenas, sentimos esa herida doble, porque afecta al territorio y afecta al cuerpo, pero también somos quienes lideramos la sanación. Nosotras en Napo hemos luchado en los tribunales, en las calles, en las comunidades, hemos ganado 3 sentencias que reconocen estas violaciones, pero el Estado no cumple. Las empresas de forma legal y ilegal siguen operando. Mientras tanto, nos toca a nosotros seguir defendiendo el río, enfrentando inclusive contra mafias y seguir exigiendo justicia. Ahora siempre les dejo con preguntas, como acá dijo mi compañera. Claramente este foro, cuando estoy expresando aquí lo que me siento, ese alivio, esa expresión de que todos vamos a sumar a salvar esas vidas que nos están afectando. Porque estos países a nosotros nos quieren ver solamente como objetos de explotación de los muchos recursos que existen en nuestras vidas, decimos nosotros, pero no como sujetos de vida. Estuve en un evento igual de internacional de la vida silvestre que hablaban del mundo silvestre, pero no hablaban de los derechos humanos. Los derechos humanos no viven sin la vida silvestre. Entonces, y el otro, en los espacios también habla de erradicar ¿cómo se llama? La tala y todo, pero cómo nos están afectando para todas estas familias. Entonces, al estar en este espacio, yo siento que soy escuchada, estoy apoyada, de que cuando yo regreso a mi país, de que todo esto va a estar solucionado. Y por eso, con ese sentimiento de corazón, les pido que todos trabajemos juntos y todos vamos a la solución de nuestro cambio climático que nos afecta al mundo. Gracias.
Thank you deeply. That was very beautifully said and informative at the same time. I appreciate that. I think we are down to just over 15 minutes right now, so I might want to.
You have till 12:45.
Oh, wow.
We get to talk longer. Yay.
We have one person missing, and then we can open.
Certainly.
Okay, Juan Bay.
Hola, hola, de nuevo, Juan Baneque, Dominicano. Perdón, muy buenos días. Con todo, mi nombre es Juan Bay, soy presidente de la nacionalidad guaraní del Ecuador, de la Amazonía ecuatoriana. Bueno, represento en las 3 provincias lo que es Pastaza, por allá. Qué gusto escuchar a mi hermana, a mi lideresa Alicia, que es parte de mi base, y a la hermana de Tena, que es una mujer de lucha. Creo que el mensaje está súper claro nosotros como pueblo indígena. a veces es compleja de poder entender de que nosotros no somos por estudio llamarle ambientalista o ecologista, somos un pueblo que desde que nacimos estamos desde primera línea porque la naturaleza es parte de nuestra vida, el territorio es parte de nuestro cuerpo, el río es parte de nuestra sangre, decía uno de los mensajes de nuestras mujeres desde la Amazonía. Entonces el trabajo de este pueblo guaraní justo es garantizar y defender el territorio a la defensa de la naturaleza en mi país, que es el primer país en reconocer el derecho a la naturaleza en 2008, claro, por escrito, pero como bien decía la compañera, es complicado la dinámica judicial, el proceso, y estamos nosotros desde primera línea diciendo al mundo de que los pueblos indígenas no solo estamos defendiendo el río, no solo estamos defendiendo el bosque, el territorio, también estamos garantizando la vida de esos seres humanos que están niños, hombres, mujeres, y también justo el pueblo aislado. Los pueblos aislados no están acá, pero estamos nosotros para garantizar. El momento de defender o garantizar al derecho a la naturaleza, también estamos garantizando derecho a la asistencia, derecho a la vida, a esos sabios, a esos hombres y mujeres de los pueblos indígenas. Claro, los pueblos indígenas siempre estamos desde primera línea para ser escuchados y que nos escuche, porque no solo podemos estar en ese espacio dando mensajes, también queremos ser parte de accionante de cómo responder esas demandas para garantizar que eso pueda cambiar la dinámica o pueda cambiar la vida sana, porque en mi país en 2023 también llevó un proceso de la consulta popular justo para garantizar que el petróleo quede bajo su suelo, para garantizar la defensa de la naturaleza y también para garantizar los derechos de la existencia de los pueblos indígenas. Claro, hace recientemente también la Corte Interamericana de la lectura de la sentencia y ratifica sobre la consulta popular a los derechos. El Estado ecuatoriano ha violentado durante mucho tiempo y la Corte Interamericana ratifica de la existencia de los pueblos indígenas y respeto a la naturaleza. Claro, estamos acá justo para alzar la voz y para posicionar. Y acá espero contar con ustedes para hacer esta alianza para poder responder y tejer juntos. Y es el mejor mecanismo para poder garantizar los derechos a la naturaleza y derecho a la vida. Y muchas gracias por poner atención y escuchar, y ese es el mensaje de ese territorio desde primera línea. Muchas gracias a Leo, un hermano quichua, que también mirar de que esté liderando ese espacio, que eso sea desde ese territorio, esa vocería de ese territorio y poder cambiar el mundo. Muchas gracias y muy buenos días con todos.
Thank you for sharing with us, and we appreciate you being here. I just wanted to share, I passed around the resolutions that the Ponkas had adopted. When we pass a resolution in our tribe, that becomes part of our law. So the resolutions are binding. The National Congress of American Indians is an American Indian and Alaska Native rights organization founded in 1944 to represent the tribes and resist U.S. federal government pressure of termination of tribal rights and the assimilation of our people. In 2022, the National Congress of American Indians adopted a resolution. Resolution is ANC-22-008. And at the very end of it, I'm not going to go through the entire resolution. So at the very end of it, it states that oh my goodness, now I can't see my own phone. Isn't that awful? When your eyes start getting old, it's a little bit.
Hey.
The National Congress of American Indians supports the rights of nature legal framework and the efforts of tribal nations to recognize and enforce these rights within tribal law and governance. So that's a significant thing in our part of the world here in Turtle Island, to have the support of the National Congress of American Indians, for us to be able to do this work within our own legal frameworks, within our own tribal nations and constitutions. I did want to touch just a little bit on what Natty had said earlier about COP30 in Brazil and how important it is, to all of us, and for all of us to be there and to be overrepresented if possible. There are a few events that are going to be going on there that I'd like to share with you. The Indigenous Council will be holding a gathering on November 10th, as she said. The 6th International Rights of Nature Tribunal will be November 11th. And there is going to be a, we hope, massive climate march on November 15th. So those are just a few of the things that we know about right now. If you stay, or if you decide to be part of the Indigenous Council, you know, our next meeting will be meeting in June, right around the summer solstice time. You know, we'll send out contact information to everybody and we will meet via Zoom at that time. And as we gather more information on this road towards COP30, this will be a great place for us to share and also to receive. So those of you that know anything that's going on that maybe we need to be part of, or we need to, you know, come and support you, please do let us know of anything that, you know, you need us to be there and to be supportive of, because we appreciate everyone here coming to support us today.
Of the 500 federally recognized tribes on Turtle Island, or what they call the United States, the NCAI, the National Congress of American Indians, is made up of the elected officials that actually do the government-to-government relationship with the federal government of the United States. And the thing in that resolution that struck me as well, it says, whereas within written law, one of the highest forms of protection is recognition of legal rights, whereas a growing number of tribal nations, including White Earth Band of Chippewa, Ho-Chunk Nation, the Ponca of Oklahoma, Oneida Nation of Wisconsin, the Yurok tribe, the Nez Perce tribe, the San Xavier District of the Tono O'odham. I hope I
Tono O'odham.
say it again.
Tono
Toby, if I
O'odham.
say that, and the Menominee Nation, or Indian Tribe of Wisconsin, as well as the Midwest Alliance of Sovereign Tribes, have advanced and adopted laws and policies which recognize that nature, including species and ecosystems, is a living entity with inherent rights, including rights to exist, flourish, regenerate, evolve, and restoration. Whereas tribal nations, including the White Earth Band of Chippewa and the South, are beginning to enforce rights of nature in tribal courts, whereas to strengthen and to expand the authority and ability to protect tribal and treaty rights and natural environment on traditional lands, there's a growing support within the Indian country for recognizing and protecting the rights of nature. Therefore, let it be resolved, the NCAI supports the rights of nature legal framework and the efforts of tribal nations to recognize and enforce these rights within the tribal law and governance, and that it be resolved that this resolution shall be the policy and will be upheld. So it is an important document in this statement, even though there will be always some questions from some tribes that are not federally recognized, which is something that we're also trying to deal with, is to how do we self-recognize? We know who we are. But there's also that system within the federal government of all around the globe that try to terminate us in order to do land grabs, water grabs, and to take away the governments of our people. There's a whole series of things that will be including into our rights of nature discussions down the road, including Indigenous just transitions and the ways that we can uphold. I'd like to open the floor up right now to anyone who needs to or wants to make a statement or has a question.
And before that, I just want to mention, as Nati mentioned before, that we are working on a white paper around the balance and complementarity of the rights of nature and indigenous rights. And we love to form a working group around that. And we'll love to have your input, your advice, and your ideas to come up with a white paper that will be developed by the Indigenous Council. And please go ahead.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize to people that a white paper is not, is a policy paper.
Right.
A lot of people think it's something else, so I thought I'd just throw that in there.
Thank you.
And also, for those that are interested in that kind of policy want stuff, the Academic Club does a lot of work on legal pluralism. Because the legal hub is right now, it hasn't been functioning, but if you're interested in the legal side, I advise you to get involved with academic at this stage. So it's straightened out,
The academic hub of Global
Yeah.
Alliance of the Rights of Nature, yes.
They're doing a lot of the legal work at this time.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Is there anyone else with a statement or a question? We'll start right here and then we'll move to you next.
I have a question. As we know, it takes resources to be able to do this work. And I'm curious what the response has been from philanthropic institutions in resourcing this work. And maybe if there's challenges and barriers and strategies that we can share as a collective to make sure that the folks that are doing this work on the ground have the resources that they need to be able to do it.
That is fabulous. Good to hear. You know, we have been supported by GARN and many of the people that are part of GARN, the We Can and a few other funders that have helped us to arrive here today, for instance. But that's pretty much the extent of it. We do this because the earth instructs us, because we have generations to come, and because this is the way of our people. Any support would be welcome, and any ways that you can help us to understand how to build that support, or anyone else can, will help us go into the spaces like these women we're talking about, and to uplift those voices as well. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, as you know, as of right now, there really aren't those kinds of resources that are available. And unfortunately, the vast majority of us who are doing this work, we get initial funding to help start a project, and then we don't have anything that helps support the continuation and implementation of that project. So that's one of the biggest things I would ask of funders, is to look towards how you're going to continue to support a community that you come into. It's not a good thing to have someone come in and give you, you know, the startup money of $5,000 or whatever it is to begin the process, and then you have absolutely zero way to continue the process on. So I think that continuation of funding is, you know, something that is probably been the biggest barrier for all of us that are doing the work. Because when we were at the Indigenous Caucus meetings that we were just at on Saturday and Sunday here, and then at various meetings I've been at since then, I just hear a calling for solidarity, a calling for support. We all are asking for help. We're asking for help from one another. And for the vast majority of us, we've done this work pro bono, volunteer. It's what we were born into. We're activists. We are our families. We live on the land. We have that connection, and we're going to do it anyway. So to be able to have that kind of financial support from philanthropy would be, you know, beyond anything that we have been able to face now. What I also like to see is that there are more organizations that are asking the questions like you just asked. So I really appreciate that very much from Indian Collective.
Thank you. And within GARN as well, there are those hubs that Michael spoke of that kind of help to support. The water just kind of jumped out, so I don't know what magic happened. It might have been your elbow.
My magical right
I
elbow.
take it as a magical thing. Do we have other statements? Actually, I'm going to ask Crystal to talk just a moment about what you're doing with the rights of nature legislation that you're introducing.
Thank you for that, Casey. So in North Carolina, we worked with Movement Rights to help introduce 2 bills in the North Carolina General Assembly about the rights of the Hall River and rights of the Dan River. And we've been working on an education campaign across the state to educate Indigenous communities as well as
other frontline communities. In this session, we combined both bills into one bill, and we're working on a Senate bill. So next year, in 2026, we'll have a equal partner in the House and the Senate to advocate for the rights of both of those rivers to be a framework for the entire state of North Carolina for all of the 17 rivers that are throughout the state that are being harmed by animal cage facilities and PFAS in the water, as well as extractive industries of pipelines and lithium and uranium mining. So that's sort of some things that we're doing now, and I really could not do it with from my KC GARN, and analyzing this movement and movement rights.
Yeah. Movement Rights, by the way, is an Indigenous-led, women-led organization that we work with that also brings into Indigenous territories on Turtle Island what we call iron forums, the Intertribal Rights of Nature forums, as well as our 4 directions convenings. Our next will be in Nebraska, bringing those issues into those areas as well. And we all work together. Yeah. Do we have any other statements? Any other questions? Please, and after Michael Oscar.
Okay, in Minnesota, there's a right of monomers to exist and forth, not only the personality issue, and there have been hearings on it already, and it's getting pretty far. We're trying to change the name of the words a bit, but it means the same thing, because you have to be aware of pushback from the right wing. There's a lot of pushback from the right wing on rights of nature, and it's really important that that pushback is dealt with in creative ways. And it's also important that, as Casey mentioned, it's not about false solutions, because there are those that are engaged in false solutions. They're starting to use the rhetoric of, they're developing language and rhetoric of rights of nature to promote a thing that's against nature, especially in the global south you're looking at. So it's really important that when you do this, you make it clear that you're not engaging in false solutions, and you're not engaging in carbon credits or biodiversity credits, and it's about protecting what's called nature. And in Minnesota, that rights of monomers of forest and exist is pretty close to passing. So that's something that people need to learn, because it's straight up right to nature initiative through a group called the Rise and Repair Coalition. So we're happy to share what we're doing in that area with others that are interested. Similar, and there is another similar legislative initiative in New York too. That could be of interest to Crystal too, with CELDF. Yeah. So yeah, just that you know.
Thank you. Good information. Osprey, and then you after this.
Thank you so much. I'm Osprey Oriole with the Women's Earth and Climate Action Network, and I also sit on the executive committee of the Global Alliance for Rights of Nature. I'm very honored to work with many people in this room. I just wanted to thank you for hosting this session, and to state that, one of the things we've seen at the Global Alliance for Rights of Nature, and why we're so excited about the Indigenous Council, is that the center focus of Indigenous knowledge, Indigenous traditional knowledge, Indigenous lifeways is really central to why there's even something called rights of nature, because it's really born out of Indigenous knowledge. And I wanted to bring that forward so that everyone here really understands where this movement bases its knowledge source from. And the rights of nature movement is really a way to articulate something that has long existed in Indigenous communities for thousands and thousands of years. And so I just wanted to really support Casey's statement about the understanding of Indigenous rights and rights of nature really being deeply intertwined. And what we're all trying to do is figure out how to take these knowledge systems, which are incredibly important for humanity at this time, that's destroying the earth in so many ways, as we've heard, in Indigenous communities, protecting their lands. And how do we actually interact with the current modern context of law? Because we know so many of these rights-based approaches are critical. And so we're all working together to really refine how do we ensure Indigenous values, Indigenous rights, Indigenous economies, Indigenous ways of life are really represented in the courts of law, and rights of nature is such a powerful way to do that. And so each and every one of you coming from Indigenous territories, this is part of you already. And part of what we're trying to do is to really center the leadership of the Indigenous Council, because as we head to COP30 and many other spaces, we really need to keep lifting up your most important voices. So I just wanted to contribute that, and just to emphasize, please feel like you already are part of this just in your existence. And we hope to find a way to improve our legal frameworks. And this is really a critical way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. One thing that keeps coming to mind that I need to say clearly is that when we talk about rights-based initiatives and the way that we're talking about rights of nature, natural law exists. The wind is going to blow, the rivers are going to flow, the thunders are going to thunder, and the fires will burn. The natural law will exist with or without humans. Rights of nature is something that you can either deny or recognize. You can't give them. You can't give rights of nature. It already exists. What we can do is deny or recognize. And that is what we're trying to do within our own cosmology from the information that is fed to us from our place of being and from the ceremonies that we all participate in. Thank you. Yes, it's introduced.
Pues nada más comentar desde México y escuchando las reflexiones de todas y de todos ustedes. Desde México, en la administración pasada con el licenciado Andrés Manuel, se publicó, se reconocieron los derechos de los pueblos indígenas y afromexicanos, y a partir de este gobierno con la presidenta Claudia se está materializando. Yo creo que es un antecedente bueno para los pueblos del mundo, porque a partir de esto vemos el antes y el después. Y el antes era como vernos a las comunidades y a los pueblos indígenas como sujetos de interés público, de decir a los pueblos indígenas les tenemos que ayudar. Y con este reconocimiento de sujetos de derecho público, se les dota o se les reconocen los derechos de los pueblos, y a partir de eso cambian las políticas públicas, y ahora la presidenta Claudia están destinando un presupuesto, un recurso para las comunidades y los pueblos indígenas, quienes van a tener todo el derecho de decidir sus propias formas de gobierno, su desarrollo que ellos quieran, acceder a la justicia, a la educación, a todos los derechos fundamentales. Yo creo que es importante cómo a partir de este reconocimiento constitucional está ahorita en proceso la elaboración de la Ley General sobre los derechos de los pueblos y comunidades indígenas, donde precisamente están los pueblos indígenas. En esta elaboración va a irse a un proceso de consulta, y en este reconocimiento constitucional está el derecho a la consulta. Entonces creo que en México estamos viviendo un momento histórico con nuestros hermanos y hermanas de los pueblos indígenas, porque vemos el antes y el ahora, ¿no? Que ahora sí las comunidades son reconocidas como sujetos de derecho público. Gracias.
That's very important information. Thank you so much for sharing that. One thing I would like to remind us of, though, is that we have the right to free, prior, and informed consent. And it makes a big difference. In my territory, for instance, a particular pipeline came through KXL. We did stop it in our homelands in Nebraska, but in Oklahoma, 2 members of my tribe were consulted that were not too upstanding. And they took a lot of money under the table, and KXL came through, and it was called consultation. It's important that we have consent and that it be a community-based consent. So the implementation of the, of UNDRIP, United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, would really help what already is being put in place, and particularly in the area of ethics. I think it would be important if you look at that, and to always to keep in mind consent, and always keep in mind recognition of the rights that already exist. And because the rest of that is really good news, and so grateful to hear it. Thank you.
Maddie?
I just wanted to emphasize like one detail. I think that it's very important to emphasize what Casey has been saying, that we are working for the rights of the inherent rights of nature. So we're not granting any right, and that nature has inherent rights. And the whole idea of the rights of nature movement is only to uphold that and to bring it into law, but understanding that we are not creating a new conservation tool. We're not creating more national parks or something. We want to change the relationship with nature. And that means with the river that crosses your city, with the park that is around you, with absolutely everything, and to understand that we are nature. So that is the base of the movement. And I just wanted to touch base really fast about the issue of funding, because we have been working in this, like I've had the honor to be working with Rights Nature for 17 years. And I think that what we have mentioned about Ecuador is a lab for the rights of nature, because we've had it since 2008. And we've had this idea of all these cases. I think we have a rate of like 85 to 90% of the cases that we put for the rights of nature, we win. Now we have to make sure that they implement the laws. We have 59% of the country that Juan was mentioning voted in favor to live in the oil and the ground in Ecuador. And now there's no political will to uphold that mandate. So I think that a lot of the funding now needs to go to making sure that those verdicts are implemented. The implementation of we've shown that we can change the law, and now we need to make sure that that's implemented. I think that's one of them. I also think that we need to like educate a lot of the funders out of the question that you made, because funders are very new to this idea. The rights of nature is very new, and they don't understand how this works. And it's really, it's working in many places in the world, and we've proved it's working, but we need, as Julie was saying, to make sure that we can go through the whole process and make sure that a verdict is implemented. And there is like very little funding. You know, I've been working for this for 17 years and only been able to work for it full time for like 3 maybe. You know, so it's a growing movement, but I think that it's very important to educate about the implementation, about the effectiveness of rights in nature all the way through. So I just wanted to mention that really fast.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We still have about 5 minutes. Do we have time for any questions? 4.
Michael says we have only 4 minutes left. I did want to say something though, because I've heard the terminology a few times since we've been here. But what Michael was saying earlier, what Casey has said earlier about false solutions and how hard those are being pushed in our communities and kind of under the radar with the consultation, not the consent. And they come in, and we've all seen these really cool commercials that they've developed about polar bears and whales, right? Like BP and ConocoPhillips and all these guys that have these campaigns out there that are about pulling on the heartstrings. We're saving the whales. We're saving the polar bears. And they're using these carbon offsets, these carbon markets, now we've even seen people putting out paperwork called Indigenous nature-based solutions, just so they can confuse it a little bit more, right? You know, it's really confusing terminology. So making sure you have a really clear understanding of what people are coming into your communities and trying to sell is really, really important. Because while they may be saving a whale or two, they may be saving a polar bear or two, they're killing us on our lands with the increase in emissions that they're allowed to do by those offsets that they have for doing over here. They're killing the Amazon. They're killing our children. We have cancers. We have asthmas. We have, you know, babies that aren't even being born because of the contamination and pollution that our mamas are dealing with. So really, really important to understand what false solutions are and to be very aware in your communities and educate everyone you know around you.
Thank you. Has the sign-in sheet made its way around?
Yay.
And we also have this, which is anybody who wants to be part of the working group for the white paper, the policy.
Yay.
Michael would like to sign.
Yes, of course.
We appreciate it so much. Yes, ma'am.
Just wanted to respond to two things that I heard today. My sister's point about like the importance of the long-term sustainable funding, I think is super important. I also think when it comes to these events like international spaces like this one, like the COPs, funders often will invest in an individual to attend the conferences instead of investing in the long-term sustainability of the organizations in which those individuals represent. And I think we need to push back on that, because it creates this harmful cycle of like individual people as opposed to the collective of the organization. So instead of writing a grant for an individual to go to COP30, which all of us know is extremely expensive, right? Housing, accommodation, visas, why not have 5-year commitments with long-term sustainable support and actually invest in those organizations as opposed to just sending individuals and allowing the folks that have that money to have autonomy over the ways in which that money is being moved. So they can use those resources to send their folks to COP,
Yes.
or they can use it for the other things that they need. I think we need to keep pushing for this, especially in international space.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you, thank you. The words that keep coming to me for these last several days, two phrases, push back. That's
Yeah.
biggie. I want us all to push back hard, strong, together, and consistently. And the other one's warrior out. Let's get into this. Let's do it right. This is a very urgent moment that we have. I keep going back to the time when COVID shut us all down for a short period of time, like 2 weeks. Humans had to behave like humans and not be in everything else's space. And the animals begin to regenerate, the water cleared, the air cleaned. And what a blessing it was for everybody else when humans actually got out of the way. That's what we need to respect and understand. And understand, I see these young men back here, or young women as well. GARN has a youth component as well. We'd love to have you be part of that youth hub and the Indigenous hub. One does not preclude the other. You can be part of everything. Anyone else interested in signing up for the white paper, please do. We also, has everyone done the sign-in sheet?
Over here, Mom. They haven't got this. Thank you. Leo, did you have anything you wanted to add before the end?
No, just contact us at any one of us if you want to be part of the working group of the white paper around the balance and complementarity of Indigenous rights and the rights of nature. And if you want to know anything else, just send us an email or reach out to us.
Yeah. Thank you all for being here. Give yourselves a big hand. Thank you.
And I have a card if anyone needs a card.